Hi, Kayla. Hi, Laura. I only am doing a Q&A today. If there's anybody who has anything, hi, Julie, anything to ask about the distance and midpoint worksheets. So we had our word problem worksheet, and we had the enrichment worksheet. And make sure that you either take the pics or scan and email me, or you could, now that I know where to look, I'm not sure, and maybe somebody can email me and enlighten me. I'm not sure. Hi, Emma. Hi, Hallie. Um, why I, in some cases, had to look in 3 different places to find work. And honestly, and this was more for geometry than you guys, so I don't know if it was just their mistake, my mistake. But I was looking like in 3 different places for stuff that they handed in, and I would have just assumed it all would go in the assignment that it was assigned to. So email or upload to Classroom, and I know that I can see at least where that assignment was given, where I will look for it. I do know that last night, due Sunday, the 26th, is your quiz. And I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but it is a Google Classroom Google form that was loaded. So that will be the only other thing that we should look for. In number 1 on the word problem worksheet, are we supposed to do work for it because I could find the middle without doing? Honestly, no. I think, again, what you're looking at is it is a word problem. And I think the majority of what you're looking at for that one, it says museum planners want to place a statue directly in the center of their special exhibits room. Suppose the room was placed on a coordinate plane as shown. What are the coordinates of the center of this room? Now, I am almost certain you are capable of answering that without doing any work, so you are good to go with just putting that answer for that. And I do appreciate it, asking about work, because for the most part I would like to see the work that has been done, but I fully comprehend when it's on the coordinate plane, there's no work that needs to be shown. I will say, Laura, had that question not been on the coordinate plane, you would have had to have found the midpoint of both sides and used those midpoints as now the new end points to find where those middle, almost like lines of symmetry that would go through the rectangle. But on a grid, there's no reason for that. You're absolutely correct. You can just write that answer and move on to the next one. I was kind of hoping some of the questions were going to be pretty easy, and not really waste your time, but just get the practice of what we had already done extensively last year. Any other questions? All right, so as I'm just going to double check my email real quick. Obviously today I did want to just give you the opportunity to ask questions, but keep in mind that we want to make sure that our word problem information is taken care of. I'm going back to just make sure I've got everything updated. Get your distance and midpoint information. Please have those in by the 26th as well. I would venture to guess most of you are finished with that. Hi, Molly. Hi, Gus. So we just got done. For those of you that I just saw said hi. The question Laura asked for number one, was there any work that needed to happen? And I said no. If you're able to identify that, you absolutely can just list that. But for the most part, where work is needed, please make sure you do show your work. I had some geometry students who did not show enough work, and unfortunately, I know there's not much I can control when we're at home. I'm hoping we're using our resources wisely, not just using resources. But I do want to see that we're going to put in some effort because, again, um, this isn't permanent, us being at home, and we need to make sure that we're continuing to progress to get ready for next year. So, your worksheets, either get the picture or the scan into me or Classroom, preferably by the 26th. You're going to start seeing your variation assignments are going to go in here momentarily. Some of them are graded. I just haven't put them in the grade book yet. So be assured that I do have them. Due on the 26th is your Google form quiz that some of you saw loaded last night. And other than that, email me your questions. We will not meet Friday. Email the question. So, Hallie, you want number 5. Is that going to be the one on the enrichment or the word problem? Oh, 5B. I'm sorry, I didn't read completely. All right, so it says the Martinez family is planning a trip from their home in Fort Lauderdale to Tallahassee. They can plan to stay overnight at a location about halfway between the two cities. So Fort Lauderdale is down here at 5, -5. And Tallahassee is up here at -5. -5, 7. And it says, how many miles is it from Fort Lauderdale, so the 5, -5, to Tallahassee? Round your answer to the nearest. So here is where you're just going to use your distance formula and just plug those values in. So -5 minus 5, x2 minus x1, 7 minus our -5, which would then be plus. So we end up with -10 squared plus 12 squared. And the only thing that I'm going to say is typically when we get to this point, we are looking at least mathematically, when we look at this mathematically, we would typically do a radical answer. But sorry, I'm counting again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm curious because let's see here. -5 minus 5 is -10 squared. 7 plus 5 is 12 squared, 144. I'm not sure, Hallie, if you're able to answer this question. What did you find? Because I'm curious if it's the same thing. No, there's a pause, a delay. So here's going to be the thing, and I guess maybe that's how we're going to want to adjust this, because of course I may have done what some of you did. It says that, before I jumped the gun here, that from 100 miles is the equivalent of 1, 2, 3 blocks. So what we would want to do is probably adjust these coordinates according to that scale. So I'm not sure if you can see on the screen, and now in hindsight I suppose Zoom would have worked better. I could have shared my screen with you, but yeah, and you're going to have to convert. And I think that's the issue. When I go back, you have to realize that on the grid, it gives that this over here is 5, and down here is -5. Let's see if I can show you that, because that's exactly what it would be, but it's not. I know that sounds kind of weird. But it does tell us in the key that 0 to 100 miles is actually 3 parts of our grid. So over here, we would have 1, 2, 3 would actually be 100 miles. And then you end up with another part of that 100 miles. So breaking that up, if 1, 2, 3 parts is 100 miles, 1, 2, 3 parts, so what we end up with is we don't have 5 and -5 if you're looking at converting it to miles. You actually have 33 1/3 here and another 33 1/3 here. So I'm wondering if we did distance incorporating that 100 and that 66 2/3. This is actually 166 2/3 and 166 2/3. And you could also change that to what the actual mileage would be, where it would be located. You could convert that, the square root let me see what that works out to be, because that is the answer, but I know that from Tallahassee to Fort Lauderdale is not 15.62 miles. So we're going to want to make sure that we adjust that for the legend, for that every 3 blocks is 100 miles. So we need to fix that. So I'm wondering, so here's the easy part. Let's not even convert it here. This turns out to be approximately, if we went in increments of 1 block. So just like we did here, increments of 1 block, we found that this was approximately the square root of 244, so 15.62. But it's every 3 blocks is 100 miles. So if I took this and divided it by 3, so now we break down what is each block going to be worth. Instead of 3 is 100, let's divide it by 3. We end up with 5.206. But we need it to be for 100 miles, so now multiply it by 100, and you get approximately 520.68, which is 521 miles, which sounds a little bit closer to what it would be from Fort Lauderdale to Tallahassee. So it's this legend at the bottom. And I initially was going to say, why don't we change everything to miles? But these numbers are gigantic to plug in here, and who knows, maybe there'll be a mistake along the way. But if you take this 244, instead of working with 100 miles for every 3 blocks, break those 3 blocks down and then multiply by your 100. So kind of like our scale factor from geometry, that's what we're looking at doing here. It's that 3 out of 100. So here's that 3 out of that 100, and you get your 521. So take your square root, you get your answer. We made sure that we broke it down for each individual block, how many miles that would be, and that's when we multiplied by the 100 to take into account our scale that our map was set at. Sorry I took the roundabout way of doing that, but after I started changing our distance here, those numbers just felt a little too big to deal with in our distance formula. This was a lot easier to adjust the scale there at the answer. My apologies for the lengthiness, but did that help? All right, as you guys are thinking about if you have any more questions, please don't forget that we do have I got you, Hallie. Thanks. Please don't forget that we are not going to meet Friday. You're going to just get your work done. Email me with any questions. There's no reason. And if for some reason you want to Zoom, or 2 or 3 of you want to Zoom, just let me know. I can always do that if it means that it's going to help with any questions you have either on the worksheets or the quiz. Looked at making the quiz, just make sure that you can do the material. There shouldn't be any tricks in there. So please make sure that with no actual live stream Friday, you can email me, and if necessary, we can Zoom. All right, if that's it, I will talk to you guys, email or what have you during the week, and then see you again on Monday. Continue to check Google Classroom for everything.